welcome back to another episode of the Double Doink Podcast. My name is Brendan Deek. Thanks so much for tuning in today, everyone. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. It would be greatly appreciated. You can also rate the podcast and review the podcast wherever you listen to your podcast. It would also be greatly appreciated. We're talking strictly Philadelphia Eagles today. Victory podcast, Thomas. And my friend, Thomas Petersen, is with me to do this. How we doing?
We weren't ready for the season to end.
No.
And man, did we get probably the most calm, relaxing beatdown of the Giants, just like we thought we would.
Was the game ever in doubt for you? Because it was not in doubt for me. Like, nope. Not even a second. Not even a second.
Nope. The only thing that the only time where I thought, all right, let's see this thing, is that like at halftime, like coming out of halftime, and because we just saw the Jaguars and the Chargers, and just like you were thinking, no lead is safe. Like, you can blow it always, but then they just came out and they just continued the exact same thing. It was in the cards that when the Giants punted, there with 12 minutes remaining, down 4 scores.
They were down by 3 scores.
Down 3 scores.
27,
right.
Yeah.
12 minutes remaining, and Eagles go on a 7-minute, 40-second long drive. It was just in the cards that they were Eagles were gonna dictate that game. And like when you just knew when Daboll punted it, like it's over, mate. You're done.
There is a account on Twitter. I can't find it quickly. I wish I kind of thought about this before. That does like a score of how cowardly your punt was. So, and I think it came by my Twitter timeline when it happened that it was one of the most coward punts in the NFL. Brian Daboll punting down 28-7 with 12 minutes left. He basically gave up. Like that was. Right. That was the nail in the coffin.
Was it better or worse than the Cowboys punt with 3 minutes remaining?
I think it's better because the Cowboys still had 3 timeouts, so they still could get the ball back.
That's fair.
If the Cowboys don't get that play right, it's 4th and 10. They're inside. I think they're at like the 25 yard line.
Game's over at that point.
Game's over. So you're right. I probably would have went for it if I was Mike McCarthy there.
Right. But let's say Elijah Mitchell stays in bounds. Cowboys get the ball back with 3 seconds remaining.
You're banking on a stop, and the 49ers offense was moving the ball pretty good towards the end of the game. So it was we were kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place if you're Mike McCarthy in that.
Right. They were going to lose regardless. So
yeah. We won't be talking about the Dallas Cowboys lose to the San Francisco 49ers. The Eagles will be playing the San Francisco 49ers in the NFC Championship game. We will touch on that towards the end of the show. We're going to focus to start the show on the Eagles beating the New York Giants 30-7 on the 5-year anniversary of the Eagles defeating the Minnesota Vikings by the exact same score, 38-7 in the NFC Championship game. Pretty wild how that kind of all came to fruition. I guess we'll start with just instant reaction to the game, Thomas. How did you kind of react to that I guess ass kicking that the Eagles handed to the New York Giants?
Right. How did I react? So I was on my 4th gin and tonic. It was 6 a.m. When the game
gin and tonic at 6 a.m. is a great combination. Can't lie.
It was the best. I mean, I was just sitting there. The entire country was sleeping. I was sitting there by myself in my comfortable chair, drinking gin and tonics, just watching the Eagles like kick ass and prolong the season. It was I couldn't have asked for it any better. And there was no better. I guess I was in a perfect place in terms of like where this team is. Like I was so confident that if they can play like this in their own stadium, this is a recipe for a Super Bowl run.
Yeah.
And I was like, it doesn't matter who they play. It doesn't matter if it's the Cowboys again. I would love to have the Cowboys come to Philly and get their asses whooped. Doesn't matter if it's the 49ers. Like I think you said it best. Like if you before the season would have told me Eagles would be first seed and their way to the Super Bowl would be Daniel Jones and Brock Purdy, I probably would have cried in happiness. So I don't think it couldn't have went any better. You got total confidence in the team. Josh Sweat came back, looked phenomenal. Hassan Reddick continues to be one of the best players in the league, if not the best defensive player this year. Certainly the best free agent signing in many, many, many years, especially in terms of value. Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown making key blocks and also being the like Devontae Smith another really good game for him. Lane Johnson looked terrific.
Was awesome.
Played the entire game, did not get pulled. We can discuss whether or not that was smart, but I mean, it is what it is. He lasted the whole game. We haven't heard anything about re-aggravation of his injury afterwards. Jalen Hurts ran wild. He took some big hits. He popped right back up, and he kept delivering. Turnover free football for the Eagles. Mistake free football. No penalties. Like, I had minor penalties towards the end that didn't really matter. This was as complete a game as we've seen from the team.
Yep. And I'm happy you kind of brought that up, because if you just take a look, I guess you can kind of pinpoint it from week 15. So when the Eagles beat the Chicago Bears 25-20, they were 2-2 in their last 4 games. Now, Jalen Hurts didn't play, of course, in 2 of those games, and then the last game of the season, it was bare bones game plan by the Eagles. They didn't want to kind of show their hand. I'm assuming they probably thought there was a good shot they would put the New York Giants in that game in the divisional round, so they didn't want to kind of show what they wanted to do. There was a lot of talk around like kind of the airwaves that this team is different. They're not playing up to the potential that they have. They're 2-2 in the last 4 games. Jalen Hurts is hurt, and they completely blanked those critics. Like, everything that you saw from the Eagles when they were, I think, was it 11-1, 12-1, whatever how they started the season, you saw in the divisional round against the Giants. You saw that team that was the best team in the NFL, best record in the NFL, and they kind of shut everybody up. There was a lot of people taking the New York Giants as an upset, a lot of people buying the New York Giants hype, and the Eagles said F it, and they dominated from beginning to end. The only, just to kind of go back to our previous conversation, the only time I thought the game was in any sort of kind of limbo was when the Eagles were up 7-0. The Giants, I think it was 3rd and 2 from the Eagles' 438-yard line, something like that. And Hassan Reddick just blows by Evan Neal, sacks Daniel Jones on 3rd down. I think it was 4th and 8, maybe 4th and 7. The Giants decide to go for it. And then they sack. It wasn't a sack. They destroy the pocket. Hassan Reddick comes across the middle on a stunt, blows up the center, pushes the pocket back. Daniel Jones has to get rid of the ball. I think it was Josh Sweat comes from the right side, forces Daniel Jones.
They ruled it a sack. First they called it an incompletion. Should have been intentional grounding, but they ruled it a sack instead. So
that right there, that was the game. The Eagles drive right back down the field. Devonta Smith scores a touchdown, 14-0. It was never in doubt after, in my opinion, that sack. And it just goes to show the talent level, the talent discrepancy from the Philadelphia Eagles to New York Giants, to be able to kind of bank on a guy like Hassan Reddick just to completely say no to the Giants trying to drive down the field. It was pretty cool to see, and everything's coming to fruition for this team. Like, just from a big picture standpoint, this is exactly the team that Howie Roseman thought he was getting. This is exactly the team Nick Sirianni thought he was getting this offseason, and it's here. They won. Divisional round in the books, and it's a championship game coming up.
And the way they're playing is just, I mean, like you said it well. We had some serious concerns about the last matchup against the Giants. Wink Martindale was dialing up the blitz there in that Week 18 matchup, and it got home. I mean, it really pressured Jalen Hurts. I mean, he got some free blitzers in there from time to time as well in this game. Notably, in the third quarter, where they had a 3rd and 12 or 3rd and 13. They had a free blitzer coming off of Lane Johnson's side. They had too many guys to block, so like the O-line blocked the way they should. Jalen Hurts recognized the blitz. He got it off to Devonta Smith, and unfortunately, he dropped the ball. That was a picture-perfect throw right at the 14-yard mark, so it would have been a first down. It's right in the hands of Devonta Smith, who has to drag his feet there, and I mean, he drops the ball. It is what it is. But just to see that from Jalen Hurts in the offensive line, because that was probably the one play where he was under the most pressure, and he delivered. And the offensive line, like, so much, it was so good to see how the Giants were pressuring, how Wink Martindale got away with everything he wanted in the last game, and how they adjusted to it in this game. Mm-hmm. And like you said it best. I mean, in our preview pod, I mean, this was a run the ball game. They ran the ball. They dictated the tempo. That slowed down the pass rush of the Giants. They weren't as willing to throw as many blitzes in there as possible because that would confuse the defense in terms of who has the gap when they're running the ball. It's easier when you know the offense is passing to just throw a bunch of blitzes in there, stunning up front. But if you're running the ball, stunting on the defensive line is one of the worst things you can do, because it kind of like everybody is in confusion of who has which gap if they're if the offense is actually running it. So they were able to dictate that. That slowed down the pass rush. The combination of a full, healthy Eagles offensive line, healthy, I mean, everybody playing and being able to play at a higher level, and Jalen Hurts' escapability really makes the Eagles offense as immune to good defensive line play as anyone in the league.
Yeah,
And we'll touch on it when we get to talking about the 49ers. But of course, everybody's worried about the 49ers is their defensive front and the way they get after the quarterback. I'm just not worried about it, because Eagles are perfectly geared to deal with that kind of stuff.
talent level, game plan level, all sides. Like
All
the
sides.
offensive scheme, the players, they completely take away the pass rush unless Jalen Hurts is dropping back and with 5-7 step drops.
Right.
There's no way. There's no way to kind of attack this offense. And I thought back to so we'll stick on Eagles offense for Giants defense here. Going back to your point, we said I used the word concussion uncle. I didn't want to be a concussion uncle, never liked to be the kind of run the ball guy, but this is how they should have attacked the Giants defense, and they completely did that. 268 yards on the ground, which is incredible. The Eagles averaged 6 yards per play in the entire game, and it wasn't just one guy. Like, if you just take a look from top to bottom in the Eagles rushing yards, Kenneth Gainwell, 12 carries, 112 yards, and a touchdown. He was awesome in this game. He had like a different gear. Almost like I went back, I posted a video on Twitter just of his highlights throughout the game. He made some like great runs. Like that last run on the touchdown, I know the game was way out of hand by that point, but he didn't have the hole there. He kind of bounces around outside and takes off. He looked really fresh. Miles Sanders also ran very well, 17 carries for 90 yards. He ran with kind of some intensity. Boston Scott got the Giants, got another touchdown added to his Giants resume.
But
6 carries for 32 yards and a touchdown. And Jalen Hurts, 9 carries, 34 yards, and a touchdown.
And get to it.
What am I missing?
Kenneth Gainwell. Come on, man.
I said Kenneth Gainwell though.
You did. Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
I thought you were going through the running backs one by one.
I started.
My
you
bad.
think I was missing Gainwell? You think I was missing Gainwell?
I thought you were saving the best for last.
No, I went right out.
You just kind of scooped him in there in your rant. I mean, I mean, fourth quarter, he had over 100 yards rushing.
Mm-hmm.
All of it came in the fourth quarter, right?
Yeah, I think he had a couple.
You converted a 3rd and 12 running in a regular, like, standard zone. Nothing fancy, like it wasn't anything particular, like drawn up. 3rd and 12. He just followed his blockers for around 7 yards. Made the first contact after 8. He spun out of the first one, and then he just continued to drive through to get the first down by getting pushed by Isaac Seumalo there to pick up 13 yards. Like he was running like a madman.
Yeah, he had a different gear to him. Like
it was so good to see.
Yeah. So yeah, the Eagles completely the Giants didn't stand a chance on the ground game. They were 30th rushing EPA per play defense in the NFL leading into this game. The Eagles knew that, and they attacked it. The Eagles had the best rush EPA per play in a single game in the entire NFL, again, in the divisional round. That was the best rushing performance by any team in the 2022 season.
Yeah. I mean,
pretty damn good. Yeah. And let's talk about Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts in this game, I thought he did exactly what he needed to do. 16 of 24, 154 yards and 2 touchdowns. Not like the most sexy stats, but all those 8 completions, I'm pretty sure like 6 of them or 5 of them were throwaways. Not like he was very accurate. Right out the gate, I like how they came with a deep shot. They found Devonta Smith kind of on an island to the right. He cuts across the field. Julian Love can't stop him. And you got, I think it was like a 33, 32-yard gain just right off the bat. Absolute diamond throw right in the pocket of Devonta Smith. It was a perfectly placed football. And yeah, he was awesome in this game. And I thought it was good to kind of see him running a little bit. And that's the other thing too. Like his ability to run changes everything. Like everything is different when he's on the field for the rushing attack. Like if you just look at those 2 games that he was out, Miles Sanders had his 2 worst games of the year. And like when he's in there, you take away a defender. I know this has been preached forever, but it's so true. Like when he's on the field, you take away a defender just because someone has to be accountable for Jalen Hurts pulling the ball on any zone read or RPO or whatever. So it's It was a perfect rushing performance by the Eagles.
Absolutely. Yep. And I also think it's fair to say that both like those things work in combination. Like the passing set up the rushing for success, and vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
They came out throwing the football extremely efficiently on the first drive, and that kind of opened things up in the running game afterwards.
So let's transition. I don't think there's anything else you want to talk about on the offensive side of the ball. I think we kind of touched it. There's not much
Yeah.
else. AJ Brown.
We're gonna get AJ Brown thing. Like I have my own little theory about it. Um, so everybody's like, there was a big speculation of what's wrong with AJ Brown, what was going on the sidelines there at the end of the game. We saw a clip of Nick Sirianni getting over to AJ Brown sitting by himself, kind of mumbling a little bit, and didn't look too pleased with what happened, despite Eagles being up. I think they were up 31-7 at that point. And I think really we know AJ Brown he's a very emotional player. I mean, he carries his emotions on the outside when he's playing. I think he has extremely high standards for himself. Just came off the game there against the Giants where he broke the franchise receiving record for like single season receiving yards. So he demands a ton of himself. And he had he had a catch to begin the game, like on a slant, picked up a first down. But other than that, it was kind of a rough game for AJ Brown in this one. I mean, he dropped the wide open pass across the middle that was right in his hands. He had a block on a bubble screen with Devontae Smith. I think it was on the first drive, actually, on a second down and 2.
Block.
They lost 2 yards because AJ Brown didn't finish his block.
I think AJ Brown on the touchdown to Devonta Smith had a
Yeah. He made that was another play where he made a terrific block there to carry Devontae Smith into the end zone. But early on that drive, he had a block that should have absolutely been picked up a first down there, 2-on-1 situation, and they lose 2 yards. He has on the drop that he had on the slant, he kind of gets hit a little bit. You can see he has some muscle soreness in his legs after that. Then at the end, they have the shot downfield. Where he goes a little bit more outside and he doesn't connect with Jalen Hurts there. That would have been the dagger to absolutely end the game right there. He was open and didn't come down with it. So I think it was a culmination of him not being satisfied with his own performance combined with soreness and
I think that last play he kind of came up gingerly. I can't remember exactly what happened on it, but he was kind of holding his hamstring a little bit. And then he never played after that. That was his last play of the game.
Yeah.
He didn't speak to reporters after the game. So he was in the training room. I know a couple of reporters wanted to talk to him. He said he'd be right back. He goes to the training room, never comes out. So I think that's probably the biggest storyline maybe to watch over the next couple of days is he fully healthy? Because the Eagles definitely need him at 100% if they want to beat the San Francisco 49ers. And it sounds like just from kind of adding up, I'm assuming that's where you were going with this, connecting all the dots, that he was a little banged up towards the end of the game.
I think he was a little banged up, and I think he was displeased with his own performance in the game.
Yeah.
I think it had very little to do with him being actually hurt. I mean, of course, we can speculate all of this. We can watch what happens on the film. Of course, we don't know how he feels and all this. It just he didn't look hurt. It didn't look like he like an injury. It looked like the type of grabbing a muscle or something after you've made a mistake or after you didn't and you're displeased with yourself. You kind of like grab a little bit and then not really and kind of hanging your head afterwards and going to the side. So it's all speculations. I think he's fine. I think he's just got to process it. In the end, he was all over the place celebrating with all of his teammates. He made a terrific impact in the game as a blocker later in the game as well. I mean, I think it's a non-story coming out of the game, but I think it just goes to show AJ Brown demands so much of himself, and if he can channel that into a big game against the 49ers, I'm all for it.
Yeah, hopefully he's 100%. So definitely, I don't know if Sirianni's speaking to the media today. I'm assuming it's tomorrow.
I think it's tomorrow.
We'll definitely get more clarity on that as the week goes on. Just last thing before we move on from the Eagles offense, the Eagles had the highest EP per play out of any game in the divisional round this week. So they were the best offense that you saw this weekend. And it was really cool to see. Before we do actually get on to the Eagles defense versus the Giants offense, I need to tell you about True Classic. And the old year with new you in clothes that will give you confidence to tackle those 2023 resolutions. Thanks to our sponsor, True Classic, you'll have everything you need to hit the gym, take it slow, or treat yourself to something nice. Let's get snatched in 2023. Daddies, I'm talking to you. True Classic has already helped over 2 million men look great in their tees, and now you can save big while you do so. For a limited time only, get 25% off with code DOINK at trueclassic.com. Almost all men's t-shirts are designed to look good to certain body types. That's why True Classics teams designed t-shirts to make the fellows of all sizes out there feel confident in their clothing. These tees taper off toward the bottom, but they fit tighter around the chest and shoulders. This is a desirable look that can be achieved by every body type. Get 25% off at trueclassic.com with code DOINK. That's 25% off, code DOINK, plus free shipping included on purchases over $100. New year, new me, and new tees. Thanks to True Classic. Look how good this tee looks on me, man. Like, come on. You got it.
Great.
Gotta buy one. Looks great. No hat today. I was telling you before the show, I'm rocking no hat. I looked in the mirror. I'm like, you know what? Hair's looking okay.
I don't have feeling good in the tee. I mean, no reason to push it.
I don't have like an Eagles hat right now in my rotation. So I thought, the White Sox.
Is that something we need to work on?
Yeah, I do need to get an Eagles hat in my rotation. I use my Eagles hat golfing all summer, so it's not like the best. It's like a golf hat. It's pretty dirty. So I definitely need an Eagles hat going in my rotation going forward. Okay. Eagles defense versus the Giants offense. The Eagles defense had the best EPA per play performance in the playoffs. Wild card round, divisional round. That was the best defensive performance, the best defensive performance we have seen by any team this year in the playoffs. Thomas, what do you make of the Eagles defense versus the Giants offense?
I think they played well. Going back to Hassan Reddick, I think he set the tempo. James Bradbury literally picked it up right after. I mean, setting the tone with the secondary. I think Chauncey Gardner-Johnson played a fantastic game, making secure tackles whenever his receivers were catching the ball. It was primarily for short gains. When Giants had a little bit going in the passing game early, it was a few Reed Blankenship plays where he kind of lost the inside leverage. But other than that, I think they played a really good game. The James Bradbury interception was big time in terms of really shutting down the Giants early and getting up on a big time lead. And when this team is playing with a lead, the defense can really feast because they can get after the quarterback with the 4-man pressure and kind of sit back behind it. I think you and I both agree that soft zone is not preferable, and I think it's something they're going to be working on when they're going against the 49ers to kind of deal with their vulnerabilities across the middle. We'll get into that when we preview the 49ers and we get to talk about what they need to do there. But overall, I'm super impressed by the physicality and really just, I mean, they showed up. They stepped into it. I mean, there weren't any playoff jitters, nothing going on like that. Josh Sweat looked great. Brandon Graham got pressure. Hassan Reddick got pressure. And we didn't have to see a lot for the linebackers either. I mean, they didn't have to stand out in any way. The D-line got it done. The secondary got it done.
So just back to kind of the defensive stats, like the entire defensive line had their chance to eat. Hassan Reddick had 1.5 sacks. Fletcher Cox had a sack. Brandon Graham had a sack. Josh Sweat had a sack and a half. It was kind of a team effort in that way, and it was led by what we brought up at the beginning of the show was Hassan Reddick kind of taking over that drive at the end on the very first Giants drive. Giants had 19 first half plays. That's it. Like the Eagles defense was able to get them off the field quick. The Eagles offense was able to kind of control the tempo. Like you can't win a football game if you only have 19 first half plays. And I thought the Eagles did a great job of kind of with that performance. I was going through the Eagles stats and Josh Jobe had a big tackle. Was that on defense or offense on special teams?
That was on defense. It was on I think it was the last or second to last drive of the game.
Okay.
Where he absolutely smacked, I think it was Marcus Johnson.
Okay. Oh, Eagles legend.
Yeah,
I was just going through the stats and I was like, I saw Josh Jobe to tackle. I'm like, I like vividly, or like I have like a small memory of that play. I don't remember exactly, but
It kind of, I think that play kind of resembled like just everybody showing up. Zach McPherson on special teams as
Yeah,
well.
get a huge special teams tackle.
Kevon Wallace,
Mm-hmm.
maybe some big tackles there as
How
well.
about
Also on
Brett
special teams.
Kern, man? Brett Kern had a great day punting.
Eh,
Gotta throw that out there.
yeah,
I thought he punted. He looked better punting than
it
he
looked
did.
better. I
Yeah.
think the coverage was probably better than the punting itself. But yeah, I mean, he didn't boot him out the end zone, so that's fine.
Giants wide receivers were a complete non-factor.
Disaster.
Game. Like they did absolutely nothing. It was funny. People were hyping up Isaiah Hodgins basically all week, rightfully so. Isaiah Hodgins has had a great kind of towards the kind of come up towards the end of the season, so I don't want to like poo-poo him too much. But if you just take a look at his last few games, so in the Eagles lost to the Giants, or the Eagles win against the Giants in Week 14, he had a touchdown. The next week he had 37 yards, 4 catches. Week after that, 8 catches for 89 yards and a touchdown. And then against the Colts, 5 catches for 42 yards. And then in the playoff game, not 8 catches for 105 yards. And
wasn't Richie Grant?
I'm talking about Isaiah Hodgins.
Yeah, but the leading receiver for the Giants in this game, Richie James.
Richie James.
Right.
Yeah, Richie James had 7 catches, 51 yards. Isaiah Hodgins had 1 catch for 3 yards in the game.
Boom.
2 targets. He was a complete non-factor. The Eagles secondary, I thought, played amazing. They were flying to the ball, and it was funny. I have a buddy, shout out Jay Bonge, one of my best friends, who's also a newly born Eagles fan. He predicted. I think he put in like our betting group or whatever, or to our friends group that we like place our bets in. He's like James Bradbury revenge interception coming. 2 plays later, boom, it happened. So wanted to give my friend Jay Bunch a shout out there. But yeah, I thought just they were flying to the ball all game. And shout out the Eagles secondary. They didn't really play. I have to go back and watch. Have you peeked at any of the film yet?
Yeah. I mean, I've watched the game first with my girlfriend the day after, and then I watched it again. So I watched the game 3 times, but the All 22 has not been released yet, so I haven't really gotten a chance to watch it up close.
I'm curious how the defense played it. Like, I think they didn't play a ton of man-to-man. I think it was a lot of kind of not soft zone, but uptight zone, like a lot of kind of
match zone.
Yeah, that's
what I want to get into when we're going to talk about the 49ers.
Cool. So I definitely looking forward to seeing kind of your film breakdown of that game. Anything else on the defensive side of the ball? Like, just like, it's hard because we've got 24 hours to kind of resonate this game, but like it was just a complete blow. There was no storylines really, except for just a full-on ass kicking.
I think my the only thing I want to add here with the defense, Reed Blankenship is no joke. I think we have a sample. We have a sample right now where we can start to take some things away from his season. I mean, it's no longer just a lucky game here or there. He's been consistent whenever he's been in on the field, and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is looking better after his injury than he did all before it. I know the interceptions aren't there. He tied the league in interceptions leading up to his injury. Mm-hmm. But since he's been coming back, he's been playing much better football from like a consistency level and a technically sound level. And I think it kind of goes to that they're more rotating him into the slot as well now that Avonte Maddox is out. And we got to keep in mind with Chauncey Gardner-Johnson that this is a guy who is playing safety for the first time in 4 years since he was with Florida Gators. Mm-hmm. And he was used primarily as a slot cornerback with the Saints, and that's where he earned his reputation. So when he's coming into the slot, it's going to look supernatural. He's a fluid mover, and he just more consistently locks down receivers when he's in the slot. He's making more, like, he's closer to the line, so when they're running the ball, he's more actively a part of the running game. And then when he does come down and playing deep zone, he's using all the experiences that he gained this year to kind of build on what he did at Florida. So his versatility and the consistency that he's playing with right now speaks a whole lot more than all of his 6 interceptions before his injury. And I think that goes a long way into when we're talking about getting an extension after this season.
I think he's priority number 1 after Jalen Hurts.
Numero uno. Yeah.
So that's,
and James Bradbury sneaking up there as well. You gotta get on that wagon too.
Mm-hmm. No, I wish they had all the money in the world to sign these guys back, unfortunately, but Conversation for another day.
Conversation for another day. Let's just leave it at it's harder to find quality safety and cornerbacks in the draft than it is defensive linemen.
Very true. Very true. Okay. I think that does it for the game. Let's peek a little ahead here. So the San Francisco 49ers did defeat the Dallas Cowboys 19-12 in quite a boring game, I'd say, maybe towards the end. I think you messaged me too. You're like, this game has been boring. The divisional round was
then I ended up watching the whole thing, right? And getting to bed at 4 a.m. as well. Like, idiot.
You had to know who they were playing. I was tired from I had a few drinks and stuff from the Eagles game. Was fine all day, wasn't no hangover or nothing, went to the gym. And then I was falling asleep on my couch a little bit for the 49ers Cowboys game. Kind of had to kind of force myself to stay awake. I actually went up to bed. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go to bed. I can't handle this, but ended up fighting through it. Eagles beat 49ers beat the Dallas Cowboys 19-12. Eagles will be playing the 49ers in the NFC Championship game. One stat I wanted to throw your way, I tweeted this out. I thought this was very interesting. The Dallas Cowboys, it has now been 9,877 days since the Dallas Cowboys have made an NFC Championship game.
25 years, right?
I think it's like 27 now. It was 1995. So it was January 7th of 1996 was the last time that they advanced past. So that was a divisional round game that they won. They ended up winning the Super Bowl that year. So that's what are we going on? That's 27 years. 27 fucking years since the Cowboys have made it past the divisional round. So
for a team that gets that much hype, man, it's just unbelievable.
What do you do if you're Dallas? Like, quickly, I want to touch on this because they're an important team. Dak Prescott has a $50 million cap hit next year. 50.
Right. I mean,
how do you get this team better? Like, I don't know what they could possibly really do. This was kind of their year, in my opinion.
True. I think if I was like just looking at the Cowboys objectively, they're a really good team. They're talented all around, and you could say the same thing about like a team like the Bills. And for 2 years now, Bills, we've considered them Super Bowl contenders, and they managed to not reach the end game, so to say. So I mean, that's just how it goes sometimes. You can have super good teams where you're loaded all over the place. If you don't execute on the day, you're out. That's the beauty of the playoffs. That's really like you can be dominant all throughout the season and then have a first round exit if you don't hit the day. So like if I was a Cowboys fan, God forbid, I would be hoping that they didn't do anything. I would be hoping that they don't go with an overreaction here and fire the coach and get rid of Dak or
McCarthy. Yeah, like I think
but that'll be the thing, right? Like this loss and the history of losing before the championship game is kind of haunting them now to a point where they're vulnerable into making overreactions because like, oh, we got to get to this like minor mistakes that are forcing them to not be able to get in this position. Like they were in the running for the first seed all the way to the end, despite how well the Eagles were playing. And how Eagles were just continuously winning over and over and over again. Cowboys were right there. They did it with a backup quarterback. They did it when Dak came back. Dak had moments where he looked like the best quarterback in the league for games. Then he had stretches where he just continued to turn the ball over and cost his team games. And that was, I guess you can say, that's also kind of the case yesterday. Although the 49ers really only scored 2 field goals on his turnovers, but yeah, I mean, I think it was just one of those days. I mean, they might have, like, for me, they might as well have won yesterday. We wouldn't be having that conversation, but I really think they don't have to do anything overreactionary.
It's more of like they've got a lot of guys hitting free agent. Connor McGovern's a free agent. Tony Pollard's a free agent. It's gonna be really interesting to see what they do with Pollard because Ezekiel Elliott has a $13 million cap hit next year, so they can save $9 million on that. I was digging that up today, but. Yeah, like there's a lot of it's kind of like a look in the mirror type moment. I wonder if Jerry Jones did make the call to Sean Payton's agent, man. I wonder. I wouldn't fire Mike McCarthy. I thought Mike McCarthy's done a fine job. I don't think he's a great coach, but like you said, what did they finish? 11-5, 11-6, or was it 12-5? I can't remember exactly.
12-5, I think.
Yeah. So they were a good football team basically all year. So, but it's that was a tough way to go out. And Cowboys fans, again, it's going to be 10,000. They're going to hit a 10,000 day mark since last time they won an NFC Championship game. And I'll be
Yeah, I think that's also just why we as non-Cowboys fans are so sick of them, because we keep hearing like Cowboys content and Cowboys games just keep getting shoved down each and every one of our throats, and like enough, like give us teams that are actually good.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not that the Cowboys aren't like fun to watch and can have good games to watch. It's just that, like, seriously, can we have good teams maybe, like, that are winning things instead of you know.
Okay, Eagles 49ers quickly before we get out of here. Thomas and I will be dropping an episode probably I'm hoping for Thursday, maybe Friday morning, something like that. But Thomas and I will be back to preview this game, so don't you worry. But let's touch on it before we get out of here. Anything that kind of catches your mind early on that the Eagles could take advantage of, or anything like that, just before we get out of here?
Like Eagles can take advantage of. I don't know. I think it's just for Eagles, it's just a matter of sticking to the things that work for their offense. I mean, I don't think they have to change a whole lot. I mean, it's going to be like the 49ers are an extremely good defense, and no matter where you go ahead and throw it, run it, it's going to be a tough grind. But I think the Eagles' run game, like we've been saying, when they've been going up against the Jaguars, when they were one of the top rush defenses, when they were going up against the Saints, so one of the top rush defenses. Eagles once again going up against one of the top rush defenses. They just got to stick to it. I mean, they got to stick to what they do best, because they're like, when they hit the gear, no team can stop them in their running game, and that should set up the passing and this RPO type offense that Jalen Hurts is so fantastic at. I mean, their ability, his ability, and hence the offensive strategy of really reading the linebackers and keeping them in positions to set up the run or set up the pass. It's just too good, man. You got to stick with that. And then on the defensive side, Brock Purdy has had now 3 halves in the playoffs where he's been sobered up in terms of all this high that's been going on with the Brock Purdy whole experience here. I mean, the second half against the Seahawks, obviously they dominated them, but that first half was not pretty whatsoever. Against Dallas Cowboys here, not pretty whatsoever. Threw 2 passes that probably should have been intercepted. Didn't have any passing touchdowns in this game. Looked erratic in the pocket at times. It was definitely under a ton more pressure. And honestly, I think the Eagles defense are better than the Dallas Cowboys. So, I mean, if Jonathan Gannon can shut down the middle of the field, and we'll get to how they do that, I promise you. If they can do that and they can get after Brock Purdy and keep them under 20 points, I guarantee you Eagles will score more than 20. It'll be a lot more efficient than it was watching the Cowboys.
I think the biggest thing to kind of remember is Brock Purdy, yes, of course, he's been awesome. Still a 7th-round rookie.
He's a fucking rookie. That's all. Like, that's what it boils down to me. When you're like, you want to go against the Cowboys or they're going to go against the 49ers? Like, give me the rookie quarterback.
I would have rather played the Ford. I know this could come back to bite me in 7 days, but I would have rather played the San Francisco 49ers than the Dallas Cowboys. Agreed. I've been saying it all week. Give me Brock Purdy. Give me the rookie quarterback instead of Dak Prescott. Of course, Dak Prescott didn't play very well against the 49ers. But again, I still think Dak Prescott's a much more talented quarterback. I think the Eagles have the I guess, quote unquote, weapons on defense to shut down the weapons on the 49ers offense. I think Darius Slay, James Bradbury, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, those guys can go up and play and be physical with these Tebow Samuel, the George Kittles of the world, whatever, however you want to, how many of you guys you want to put out there, Brandon Ayuk. But I do think this is a more favorable match, in my opinion, than the Dallas Cowboys. You get Kyle Shanahan. The Eagles haven't played the 49ers, of course, this year, so there's a little bit of unfamiliarity with these teams. The last thing I got on this before we get out of here, I do think there's a coaching discrepancy here with in-game situations and whatnot. Kyle Shanahan has been kind of a known choke artist. I thought he made some kind of bad decisions in that Cowboys game. I think Nick Sirianni, that's the one thing that Nick Sirianni just doesn't do. He's so composed. He doesn't make dumb decisions. I do think that Nick Sirianni can get the benefit of the doubt in that aspect. And yeah, that's we'll leave it at that. We got a whole week to break down this matchup. Anything else you want to get off your chest before we go?
Let's get to the Super Bowl, baby.
Oh, baby. It's starting, man. It's starting. Eagles 38-7 over the New York Giants. Head into the NFC Championship game. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. Really appreciate it. Check out our sponsors, True Classic and BetterHelp. Great sponsors. Check out some True Classic tees. If you're going through something, BetterHelp is there for you. Make sure to like and subscribe on the YouTube channel and on all Apple Podcasts. The audio listenership was awesome last week. Let's transition some of those maybe to YouTube and see our faces. But thanks so much for listening, guys. Really appreciate it. And we will talk to you later.